Twyla.
And I'm Natalie,
And this is Twyla and Natalie.
where we talk with you about the joys and pitfalls of being a grown woman.
I like that.
Yes, with incredible topics.
Yeah.
Riveting questions.
I have to point out, we were talking a little bit about us on social media, and somebody came and said, don't forget to ask your elders because they've been there and they've done that.
Yeah.
Which just struck me as so adorably cute because it was actually a family member of mine. It's one of my aunts. But I was like, it's so cute. She's like, come on, youngin', don't forget to ask us older folk. You know, we've been here. And then I was just like, it takes nothing like a real relative, you know, or somebody that really knows you to remind you of your place in the ecosystem. Because I'm thinking I'm like the elder statesman, and now she's just like, no, that 43 years ain't nothing on this planet.
There's a pecking order.
Yeah, and I'm not at the top of it, so it was good. It was a nice little reminder.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, every week on the show, we pose a question, and then we talk about it from our perspective. Most of the time, the questions come from something that we've been through or something that we're currently going through, and we discuss it, and we hope that the discussion will kind of lead to a universal understanding. So today's question, I think, is completely relevant.
Yeah.
Hey, are we too dependent on technology?
This is a really good question on so many levels, Twyla. And this is something, you know, I just heard this question. I haven't had a lot of time to think about it. But, you know, you almost got to kind of dig deeper. Not to. In fact, let me see what Google has to say about this. You know,
I always say Google's your best girlfriend. She knows the answers to everything.
I know, because I feel on one hand, I initially wanted to say, well, no, I'm not too dependent on it. But then I realized, no, I use technology for when it's my job.
Okay.
But I also use it a lot in my life where, without my iPhone, it helps to keep me so organized. I use it as a tool. So in those ways, because I try to think back, well, what did I do before I could say, Siri, set a timer for 15 minutes? Because I'm not remember to take the potatoes out of the oven or whatever it is. But if it went away, I also kind of feel like I think I might have to change what I do for a career, but I would do okay.
Listen, I can tell you right now, I am fully dependent. I am overly dependent. I would not survive. It just occurred to me that I haven't done any proper math on my own in probably 17 years.
Oh yeah, that's true. Or writing. I had to write. I don't even write checks anymore.
Oh no, I do like to write. I still write a lot. Like you laugh because everybody laughs. I'm always carrying a yellow legal pad.
Sure,
I'm kind of obsessed with like handwriting. So
yeah, and I'll do that, little notes or something. But to actually have to handwrite a card, which I'm trying to do more of.
Oh, then we'll talk because I have a whole bin. Like okay. And here's my geek coming out. One of my youngest kids, her summer assignments is to practice her handwriting by writing old-fashioned letters to family members.
Wow, that is fantastic.
Yeah, so a couple times a week when she sits down to do her like schoolwork stuff, she gets
Does she do it in print or cursive?
Print, because they're at the age they haven't learned the cursive at school yet.
Okay, will they learn the cursive?
Barely.
I heard some schools are taking it out.
They're barely teaching it.
It's going the way of calligraphy.
Yeah, they do like a 3-week unit, but at the house,
Holy
we
moly.
practice it at the house.
That's
so
good.
yeah, so I'm having her write people.
You're holding true
letters.
to it.
Yeah, and I'm like, I feel like kills two birds with one stone. You're in touch with people that we don't see. It gives you a chance to practice like how to express yourself on paper because she gets to write whatever she wants.
Sure.
And then she gets to learn how, like how old school mail works. Like put it in an envelope. Where's a stamp? This is what an address looks like. This is how you should print it. This is why we do this. And then send it out.
I'm glad they're still teaching that. I don't know if my daughter just forgot. She's almost 25 now. And I remember it was just not even 2 years ago. She texted me, where again are you supposed to write the address when you're mailing something?
Well, yeah, because we almost never do it now.
No.
I mean, there's a lot of that stuff. Like
I pay all my bills online.
Yeah, see, I'll be honest. I'm doggedly persistent about the things that I really care about.
Sure.
So like I'm a big handwriting person. I'm a big like letter writer, things like that. So I still do those things. But almost everywhere else, technology rules my life. And it rules my life in ways that I dislike because if a problem pops up, I almost never know how to solve the problem
without using technology.
What
do you mean?
Well, if problems come up and it involves technology, 9 times out of 10, I'm out of my depth.
Sure.
So like
you mean a problem with the technology?
Yeah, that I rely on a lot.
So like an iPad thing or
yeah,
something.
like if my phone goes dead, we're all dead. Like if anything happens to that iPhone, we are all dead because my whole life is in there.
Yeah.
I haven't memorized a phone number since my parents' phone number in
Virginia.
Right.
Oh my gosh. You know what too? I use the period tracker app.
You're so cute.
Yeah, I do depend too much on technology. The more we talk about it.
Well, and the thing is, it's not even that you don't want to. There's so many good things that come of it. Like the fact
it does
that I
help you to be organized.
Yeah, like I can track our entire family's calendar in one place. So
I can physically track my entire family.
Right. Well, that's, like my son just got his first phone, and the Find My Phone thing on there is fantastic. If he says I'm, now he's getting more freedom to go places. Mm-hmm. So if he's going 4 or 5 miles away from my house on his bike, and I haven't heard from him in a while, I'm a little worried about it, I can look and be like, oh, he's right here. You know
what a good one is too is Life 360. Is you can not just track them, but you get an alert. So you set places in it, and so you can do it for your kid's school. So if your kid leaves school or arrives at school, you get an alert.
That's cute.
Yeah. And
it's going to create problems for us later.
Free too.
But I'm going to do it. Well, see, and I won't even lie. Like there's all of these things add up to
they do
a certain ease of use.
Yeah, I do all
life.
my banking online. I'm thinking now I use that app.
Listen, and that's the biggest joke for me in the world because online banking involves all these passwords and then all these security questions. I answer the stupid security questions. I forget what my answers are.
Yeah. Well, there's an app to keep all your passwords.
No, I refuse to use stuff like that because I get super worried that those things are going to get hacked into, and now all my passwords are out in the universe.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So and I've seen that. Like I said, we were not a part of the big Target breach from a couple years ago.
Sure.
But maybe a month later, there was a large Visa card, debit card breach, and our bank, over the course of 3 months, had to cancel our debit cards 3 different times and send us new ones. And that's, for me, that's part of the issue is I'm so dependent on it in so many places that when something goes wrong, it doesn't just go a little wrong.
No, there's a domino effect.
Yeah, it goes sideways. Like when there's a breach, then I lose my debit card for, 7 to 10 days. That's 7 to 10 days I don't have access to my money because my bank's not actually in the same town where I live. So then it's okay, now I have to plan around that.
Yeah, and that's not even and I wouldn't even consider that too much. Obviously, it's technology, but I mean, banks couldn't run without technology.
No, not today.
I think when we talk about are we too dependent on technology, it's as individuals and how we run our lives and our household. We use an app to keep track of the kids' soccer games. It tells us where to go, what to wear. You can even get a map, all of that, and I feel like that makes it so much easier. I feel like, yes, I'm very dependent on technology, but is there a downside to that other than if, when the zombie apocalypse hits, it won't matter anyways. No one's going to soccer, I mean, think about it, Twyla. The only way for us to lose technology is there would have to be a catastrophic disaster.
Well, they're planning for it.
What if that happens?
Those disaster preppers they're planning for it.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. I mean, yes, are we too dependent on technology? Now that I look at it, yes, I know I am. But is there a downside to that?
Yes.
What's the downside?
My brain is getting super lazy. All of the things they tell you to do to keep your brain active, to keep from developing things like Alzheimer's and dementia and things like that are all the things I no longer indulge in.
I always have a puzzle, 1,000-piece puzzle out, and I work on it a couple times a week. I also play Candy Crush, which is like a puzzle.
True.
Because I hear doing those things does keep your mind more. You got to use your brain. But,
right.
but see, I feel like I use my brain. I mean, gosh, we use our brains for so many other things.
But I feel like the things that I'll be perfectly honest here. I use my brain for a lot of things, but I would probably say 70% of that stuff is stupid.
Yeah, it came from technology.
I use it to track things like who the Bachelorette is going to choose.
but again, comes from technology.
And why I think that she should choose, X, Y, or Z. Like I spent a lot of mental energy last night, talking on Twitter about the choices, which isn't smart.
You know what I do sometimes? I'll find myself thinking, gosh, I wonder what Luann's doing right now. And then I got to stop and go, okay, that's the Countess on The Real Housewives. Right, not my friend.
Yeah, not my actual friend. I shouldn't know this much about her life.
Whatever happened with her and that guy she was going to marry? I think about this stuff. And I'm like, no, that's from TV.
Right. And I feel like that's where I put a lot of my technology where in my youth when we didn't have access to all of this stuff, where did I put my free time when I needed it?
Sure.
And I will be perfectly honest. I was always a movie buff. I was always, a music person. So there are, I would say, in the scope of where it's not beneficial, I would say it keeps me. I think it makes it very easy to opt out of things that are hard for you to do. Where as when you were younger or when we didn't have all these things, you had to tough it out. If you didn't understand how to, do that math problem, you had to go figure it out.
I think too, it contributes to, for me, it can, because I'm an introvert at heart. Mm-hmm. I want to be invited to everything, but I don't want to go to anything. My schedule's a little odd, but the truth is, it's really, I like to be home. And I think technology makes it too easy for me to do that. I mean, I'm far from being one of those people who never leaves the house.
Yeah, but you're not. I mean, but you can be shut in with your internet.
If you're on a group text or a group message on Facebook and people are making plans to do something, it's so easy to just go, you know what? I'm not going to be able to make it. And everyone gets hit. Before that, if you had plans, you had to show up somewhere before cell phones. It's really hard to back out 30 minutes prior because you can't tell anyone.
Yeah, you have to show up.
You have to show up.
I remember the old days being so old that you could call the restaurant and let somebody know that you weren't gonna, that you missed the thing.
Can you imagine if you did that today? The hostess would be like, "What?
I
don't understand."
About? Yeah, but I do. I even remember back then when you have to call and say, "Can you let this person know when they get there that I'm going to be late?"
Or your parents would use the restaurant. Actually, my parents would never check in on us, but I hear that some parents would use the restaurant phone to call home and check on the kids.
Yeah. Yep.
I've seen it done on television.
Well, I mean, that kind of thing. I mean, you've hit a really solid point on the idea that it can make it easier for you to not sort of push yourself out into the world. I mean, on a typical Saturday, I can have, a group chat going on in my text messages. Mm-hmm. I could be on Facebook interacting with my old high school friends. I could be on Twitter with my sarcastic TV friends.
And don't you feel like you're getting still that companionship? I can get on the phone and talk to people.
Oh, no, it's even better than that because you're getting all the companionship the way that you want it in a controlled circumstance.
And you can FaceTime.
And I can wear sweatpants.
Yeah.
Flat out.
I know. I do find myself having to push myself to, you know what, I need to go to this. If it's not somehow work related where I have to attend an event, we rarely actually go anywhere. We kind of just want to fish, maybe go out on the boat.
Yeah, but you're still active at your house, though. I mean, that's
yes. No, I'm not sitting in the house. Yeah. We're very active doing things. We'll go. We started riding bikes. We'll play stuff with the kids at the park.
Right.
We are doing things.
Yeah, it's just that idea of that sort of that.
It's easier to avoid a social setting.
Yeah, that sort of community thing is the definition is real different now because
Twyla, I don't even go to the grocery store. Because I found an app. I found a service that will deliver my groceries. So I order it through the app. And I have it set up that they leave it at the door because I don't even want to talk to the person when they come to the door.
See, and I think that's part of the what's bad about it. Like we don't interact with people as much because of technology. And before technology, I had a relationship with all the cashiers at the bank because you would go in it on a regular basis. You'd see those people. I would have relationships with the cashiers at the grocery store because I'd see, the same couple people every once or twice a week when I went into the grocery store or the video store. I mean, we had such a good relationship with the girl at Blockbuster that we would come in and she would hold movies aside for my kids that she knew that they wanted to see. And that was for me, especially when I moved to a new area like this and didn't know a lot of people, that's how I got to know people. I didn't drive a car, so I would walk around and I knew the gals at the Walgreens. I knew the fella that worked at the gym where my husband went to the gym. I knew the folks at McDonald's because we walk over on Fridays and get French fries. It was that kind of a thing where everything is sort of so fast paced now, and there's so many ways to avoid all of it.
Yeah,
you mean I don't have to go. I mean, how lazy are we? I can get Taco Bell delivered to my house now.
Oh, I know. I found that app too, which I had to delete from my phone because I did get Taco Bell delivered to my house.
Yeah, and the problem is, there's always going to be a greater temptation to use that and have that ease of use of I don't have to get out of my bed.
Yeah.
Like I said, my default setting is hobo because I barely have to do anything to get myself presentable for the world. I don't actually have to interact with the world for the most part.
Sure.
Which is, like I said, I think there's a part of our life, everybody's life where you go, that's great.
Yeah, but maybe, and you and I are in different situations maybe from many because doing what we do, I'm a writer. I do social media work. We do the podcast together. We don't need to go really to that many places. No. We don't need to go to an office. Let's say we come to the studio. We come to one place. And it's not a typical 9 to 5.
No, and I think that makes I think the beauty. I'll say this because we've been talking a little bit about sort of what we lose from technology. I'll talk about the things that I've gained from technology. Mm-hmm. Without technology, I wouldn't be able to be sitting here right now doing this.
That's true.
There's the beauty of the fact that we've gone in the short span of my adult life from my first, like one of my first professional jobs being a video conference aide, where I would lug equipment from building to building, like a large screen television, all this stuff to plug in so people could have video chat from one's, like all around the country or all around the world. And that was like my whole job. Like 2/3 of my day was spent moving a large piece of equipment around Stamford, Connecticut. Just going, okay, I'm going to building C. And 2 hours later, when I moved everything and set it up for a 20-minute meeting and then have to move it back. And now I can do that exact same work on my cell phone. It's amazing that
your cell phone, not even some special equipment,
even
just
a
for a
laptop
business.
or something, just my cell phone. The fact that I actually know adults who have started successful businesses that pay for all of their needs, and it runs through their cell phone or their iPad. That's it. You know, the fact that I'm actually able to be a business owner right now is solely based on the idea that this technology is here and is at an accessible price point, and really and truly a monkey can push the buttons because I'm doing it.
But think about too people who have been able to, because of technology, take their jobs from being in an office to be able to home office.
Yeah,
and it's given them the freedom to. I know I do that. And I can go switch a load of laundry. I mean, I am in awe of, especially the women who have full-time jobs outside the home and are responsible for everything in their home. I don't know how they do it. You know, there was a time when I did it. So I try to look back and I'm like, I did not do it successfully.
Yeah, like you feel like you didn't do it very well.
No. And I admire women who can do that because truthfully today, I don't feel like I could. But, you know, I can be home working. And especially being that I do a lot of work on my computer, I need to get up and move. Or, being now in my 40s, I get too stiff.
Yeah.
I'll go switch a little laundry. I will vacuum. You know, I can balance those things.
Well, on a basic level, I'm always sort of going, okay, in my life, in my experience, is this a good or a bad thing? And I think there's a lot of good to be had. Like I said, I'm always troubled by the idea that I'm giving up what I feel are really beneficial basic life skills over to whatever phone or laptop or iPad or whatever that I'm indulging in at the time. It didn't really sink in as a question that I wanted us to talk about until I thought about the idea of what my children don't know how to do. Because there's a lot of stuff.
Mail a letter.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff my kids just don't do because it doesn't. The mechanism doesn't exist anymore for them to do it. They don't have to do it. I mean, my kids didn't even. I took so for granted how technology works, and that my kids almost never talk to people on the phone. They like my kids only talk to their grandparents.
Like to.
Yeah, my kids talk to their grandparents on Skype. So they don't understand the dynamic of a phone. They, for them, it's like, well, I'm going to go on the computer and see the picture of grandma and we're going to talk, and then my son got a phone and like he had a bunch of basic questions that I was getting so frustrated. And then I was just like, oh crap, you don't use this. So why would you know? Like he was like, how do I make a call?
When you also have to, you have to teach them and I'm thinking about your kids now too. And your kids and my stepkids are similar age. They don't know phone etiquette.
No, they don't. And the thing is, I think that's a big piece of what technology takes away is the common sense, like everyday hospitality, etiquette, manners, social graces. It takes a lot of that away.
Do you remember calling your friend's house when you were, a kid
and
or a
having
teenager,
to ask a permission?
And you'd say, hi, Mrs. Larson, this is Natalie.
May I speak to?
May I please speak to Cindy?
Yep, that doesn't happen now because they all have friends. I mean, okay,
and they call them directly.
I'm gonna have to buy my son something expensive because I'm totally putting him on lock right now. Like he makes phone calls, and the phone calls between him and his friends are very specific. Like the message, or they'll be there for like you'll hear them sit there and breathing. Somebody picked up the phone, and you'll hear me in the background go, say something, and then he'll go, oh hey, this is can I talk to oh hey, it's and he'll say his name again, and I'm like, okay, just talk to your friend, and then they don't even know how to disconnect a call. They'll be like, oh okay, well hang up. Like they don't like it, there's so like there's a lot of that awkward socialness, and the thing is, a lot of those skills we learned because our parents took us out in the world to learn those skills.
And we also had to, where we have a lot of where our kids now get a phone and then they run off with it.
Right. And even some of the basic things that be even with or without them having a phone, there are things that we just lose track of. Like I tried to make it a point to teach my kids how to handle money when you're dealing with somebody for business, which is a rarity. Most people use their credit card when they're handling, so they don't have any idea that you should hand the money to a person, that that you should wait, for the money to be returned, that you should say thank you for the service that they gave you. There's really what I always thought of as, life skills are much harder to teach in the age of technology.
So maybe the technology that we use so much of, that we're dependent upon, is creating a situation where we're not connecting with each other on a human level.
Yes,
as
very much
human
so.
beings, we're not connecting with each other as much because there's so many. It's so easy to put barriers between us and somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because of technology.
Well, just like a new big thing that I'm trying to concentrate on with my kids is making eye contact with people.
Oh, that's huge.
Like when you speak.
Yep.
Because they don't, when they're on, on their phone, they're in their text message, their head are down. You're in your phone all the time, just using it. Your
or
heads
that
are
they
down.
should respond. I walk on this trail by my house all the time, and I can't tell you how many kids will pass by on a bike or walking, and I say hi, and they say nothing.
Right, but remember, we've been taught not to talk to anybody. We've been teaching
it's broad daylight in a community
listen,
where they're safer than anywhere else.
Stranger danger, Miss Natalie. We don't talk to people we don't know. And you know what's funny? I think that was a big part of it. One of the first things I taught my kids, and I didn't realize I was doing it because I was giving out a mixed message.
Sure.
Which was, hey, like I would always make them talk to people they don't know when they were with me.
They should.
No, I stopped making them do that. I started when somebody approaches us and says something to my kids, because my kids have all this pretty hair, blah, blah, blah. And, they'll say, oh, you're so lovely. My kids don't answer. My kids look to me first and get permission to answer. And the point is, I have to give them the room to decide if they're comfortable or not.
Yes, but that's how they learn to read somebody, is by having an interaction with a stranger. I mean, and come on, let's not to say, of course, there are stranger abductions and stranger assaults, but I think so many more it happens where it's the people they know you got to worry about, the people they're already talking
and all
to.
That, and see, I feel like all that ties back to technology too, because I'm constantly, like the first thing I told my son was how to turn the find my phone thing, and how to, like how mine is on, and we'll put each other on it, and blah, blah, blah. And it's very hard to resist the urge to play Big Brother with your family members with things like that too, because when we were at that age, we just had the freedom to go get into a little mischief and figure it out. Like that's you made a great point in another podcast about how with kids you have to, kids used to go off and play, and if there was a conflict, the kids solved it because they had to, because it was them.
Exactly.
A lot of what I think this technology takes away from us is the ability to figure out how to solve it. So when I'm lost, I don't have a map. I got Google Maps, and God forbid Google Maps goes out, I'm just gonna sit on the side of the highway and cry for a good 20 minutes, and then I'll wait for her to come back online, and then I'll go back where I'm going. Like I don't always have the same instinct to tough it out or to figure it out or to fight it out. If my tire goes flat, I'm using my cell phone.
Yeah, that's right.
To call my insurance company.
Call AAA and
to send the tire guy.
I think too, especially today, technology has gotten to be, it's in so much of what we do. You think you have smartphones, you have smart homes, you have smart cars, where it's hard to keep up. I always consider myself like, I'm pretty, I can work my phone, I can work my computer, I can work my iPad. And I got a different car recently, and it sent me a message telling me where my car was parked, and I had no idea how it even did it.
Exactly.
I get in the car to drive here, because today's the first day I drove at any distance. I thought that my empty light was on. Turns out it was telling me I was going east.
Oh, see, and
I spent 5 minutes with the seat heater on.
Okay, listen,
it's all, you got to hit this screen. It's
all there in front of you.
Yeah, and the car's telling me things.
My console is now like the cockpit of a jet.
Yeah.
And I'm still lamenting that the tape deck is gone from the other car, and I just want to drive. No,
and oh my gosh, Twyla! I was late today to meet Twyla, and I let her know, hey, I'm going to be about 10 minutes late. I'm having some Wyco problems. I got a new car. I can't get my phone to pair with the Bluetooth, but I was pairing it because it walks you through it fairly simply. Then the car tells me it's downloading all my contacts.
Yep.
I'm like, what? You didn't even ask me if you can do
but
that. Do I want the car to know all my? Is the car going to start calling my kids? Okay. I don't know.
Now, see, I feel like that's another really smart point about this whole: are we too dependent on technology? I don't like that all of our technology now syncs with each other so seamlessly that I don't have to put an effort into what I decide to do with my information. So it's, my phone now syncs with my car, and then it wants to sync with my laptop, And then
why?
If I use it to order something on a website, then now all of a sudden that website is now syncing into my information from my phone. Like anytime you put a new social media app on your phone, the first thing it asks is, can we send you push notifications? And can we tap into this, and this to make your experience more seamless? No, I don't. Instagram doesn't need to know where I am.
Yeah, not if you're going to post where you are. No,
right. Like I'm not, and you know me, I don't ever want people to know where I am half the time anyway. So it's like, and it makes it difficult for you to opt out of doing those things. It does. You know, too. Like
sometimes you can't even proceed with the app unless you let it do that.
Yeah. And I'm like, I find all of that kind of stuff really disturbing. And I think the biggest nail in the head for why this is a real conversation for me is I'm not smart enough to keep up with this.
Yeah.
And because I'm not smart enough, and because there are people far smarter than me using this information for good and for bad, I feel like I am constantly sort of under this weird siege of, did I filled out that survey to get a free magazine? That probably wasn't smart, because now somebody has my address.
Yeah, now they have your info.
Right. Well, like I thought, like, and I'm always like, how do people get your information is big to me. Like I've been like, my husband and I had a hiccup with our taxes that we had to fix from like 2 years ago.
Sure.
So we fixed it. It wasn't a big deal. It was just like, oh, we misnumbered. Okay, so we'll fix it. And then I started getting these phone calls. I mean, months after I fixed it, saying, and I knew it was a scam because I'm at least smart enough to know about the technology and what's going on out here. But it was a constant call that I was getting like 3 times a day saying, you are in violation with the IRS. You need to call this number right now. We're going to send the authorities for you. And I knew it was bogus. I knew it was bogus. I know how the government talks to people. And but then my thought was, how did whoever this is who's doing this get my information to know that I had some sort of problem with the IRS that needed to get fixed? And how much of my information do you have?
Yeah.
And what the heck are you using it for? I'm like, luckily for me, I don't really have but 2 pennies to rub together, because I can only imagine people who actually have real wealth who have to sort of fight this off at every turn.
I keep almost hoping somebody does steal my identity and actually raises my credit rating.
You're like, oh, you bought a yacht.
Yeah. Oh,
I look great on paper.
Just keep up with the payments.
Yeah, exactly.
Help me look good.
Okay. And I think that's the other part. Like, I worry so much about my stuff that there's this whole other category of things I have to worry about now, which are my parents and my children.
Giving information away. When and the elderly were known for it. Because remember when it was just the worst thing you had to worry about with your parents was that it was a phone scam?
Right.
Someone would call up. Now our parents and grandparents are all computers where a scam thing will pop up telling them, oh, you have a virus. Now you need to do this. Enter your credit card to buy these services.
Yeah. Or so we already see it coming. My husband works in the health industry. So they're sort of hyper vigilant and hyper alert about this new sort of ransomware stuff that's going around.
Oh, yeah.
So in a nutshell, ransomware takes over whole systems, and then they make the company that they took over pay like a ransom fee to get it back, to get their system back. And they're going after hospitals because hospitals can't afford to wait for the police to investigate it.
Wow.
If they shut down your systems, that means people's life support cuts out. That means that the hospital records no longer have access. That means the electricity could go out, and they're not willing to take the risk.
That is so incredibly
so
criminal.
you can ransom at a hospital, get an easy $50,000 or $100,000 out of the hospital and get their stuff back online in hours, as opposed to taking the police and waiting for months to get it, to figure out what happened. And that is going to trickle down. Eventually, it's going to be us on our computer one day, and somebody's going to, the screen's going to turn blue and say, pay me $500 if you want shit back.
And I'd be like, keep it. Just put out the photos where I look good.
Yeah, I'd be like, can I just have my iTunes music back? You can have all the rest of that.
Now that we have thoroughly scared all of you.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll never touch an electronic device
now
again.
That we're all going to be Luddites. Hooray. I mean, I can say this, like, even with all of those fears, even with everything else, I'm the first person to say we live in the greatest place we could live at the greatest time we could live. We're at the apex of amazing things that could happen. I just feel like it's okay to be hyper vigilant, and it's okay to be a little paranoid, and that maybe we would all be better served not to be so quick to say, oh, you can have my name and my address and my phone number and my birth date and my children's ages.
When I think it's, if we look at technology, like it's a responsibility. Yeah. We talk about, well, I have a right to this. I have a right to that. With every right comes responsibility.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think when you have a good balance of responsibility with that, then you use it to your best advantage even, I can be, I don't know what to make for dinner. Oh, I have these ingredients. I can plug it into an app that'll tell me, oh, here, you can make this.
Right.
Pinterest is a godsend.
I mean, it's a godsend for like me never getting anything done.
Like, it is a time sucker.
I call it the rabbit hole for a reason.
You go down the hole big time on the Pinterest, but it's such a great resource. Like I'm thinking, all right, I need to, manage my diet better. Here are some things I have. How do I make this? I've made so many different types of foods that I probably would never have tried. Because I look at, and I have cookbooks too.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they're just harder.
Well, you have to read them.
You got to read them. And you put a bookmark there.
I mean, now it's so easy to use, and I will, like I said, as much as I underscore all of the things I'm afraid of with technology, that it has made my life as a working parent, as a working adult, so much simpler in a lot of ways. I mean, when we say, okay, we have these things up in the cupboard, let's plug it into an app, or let's go check out that video you were looking at, which is like, it'll break down a whole recipe in 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden it takes you 10 to gather the ingredients and 30 you're eating.
I love that.
Yeah. I mean, things like that really are, or for me, now that I don't eat animal products anymore, it's very difficult when I'm at places and we don't know what's in something.
Yeah, I can look it up.
Yeah, my phone can say, does pad thai have X, Y, and Z in it?
Mm-hmm.
And it'll tell me, if I say, is this vegan? And I can actually take a picture of the product or whatever it is, and it'll tell me, yes, no, maybe so, whatever it is.
Yeah,
that's
so maybe what we need to do is challenge ourselves when it comes to, this question of, are we too dependent on technology? And I think for me, the challenge is not using technology to stay away from people.
Okay. I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah, not to use it as a substitute for, direct human interaction. And I've been working hard too on not using technology in public. It's a struggle. It's a work in progress, because I feel if I'm at a thing and I'm on my phone, I see someone on their phone, to me, they're not approachable. Okay. And I want to talk to other people.
Okay. I feel attacked. And second, I actually feel like we should probably talk about that separately, because I think that's a whole other can of worms using technology in public. I really do. It's a lightning rod. I think it really is that, the idea of how you're using it, and especially when you're using it in public, there's a whole sort of set of social norms that have now been built around that.
There is etiquette to it, but you're right. That's a whole other topic.
We should talk about that.
But I know I need to use technology more, not to keep myself at home.
And I think that's good. And I think I should use technology less as a substitute of actually using my brain for things. I think I use technology a lot to turn my brain off.
Sure.
And instead of actually pushing myself to do that math problem or figure out that tip or look at the road signs, I will just let technology do it for me. And I think the less I use those instinct muscles, the worse off I'm going to wind up being as an older person. Yeah. So I'm gonna.
You're right.
I'm gonna try to do better about that. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I guess that means if we ask ourselves, did we answer the question? Are we too dependent on technology? I mean,
yes, we have.
Yeah,
obviously. The answer is yes.
Yes, we are, and we're not ashamed.
But we are going to challenge ourselves, and we challenge, anyone listening to challenge yourself, whether it's you're using technology too much or you're using it too little. It could be, hey, I could be more organized. I could actually use technology to organize my life better. It really could go the other way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not for us, but
not us. No, we are over the top.
That is okay. I feel like if in this grand scheme of things, it could be worse.
Mm-hmm.
I could be watching porn all day.
Yeah. Well, it definitely makes porn easier.
Yeah. Well, that's a topic for another day too. As always, we want to hear what you think. We want to know if you agree with us, if you have your own opinions, how you use technology. Go to the Facebook page. Go to Facebook and hit Matriarch Digital Media. You should already like it if you haven't done that already. There is a send message button on the right-hand side. Click on that and send us a message to Twyla and Natalie. Just hashtag it or put our name somewhere in there so we know you're talking to us. And let us know. Eventually, we're going to get a mailbag show together. And as always, I'm looking really forward to hearing what people have to say about what we've had to say.
Oh, yeah.
So in the meantime, thank you so much for listening. We're having a ball doing it. And we appreciate the support. So we'll see you soon.